Hi, I'm Joe Drilling, and if you recognize me, it's probably because you've seen me talking about video games. But I also love film. I've always loved film. I've co-hosted 2 podcasts about it, I've written about it in various places online, but lately I've been really wanting to discuss film by using film, and that's what you're watching. The name of this show is Perfect Scenes, and it is an examination of perfect scenes from various films. Now, sometimes the film that the scene is from will be a perfect film, although those are pretty few and far between, so often, the film will be a flawed film that has at least one perfect scene, and that's the case with today's episode. In fact, I specifically chose a film that most people would consider flawed, that some people, not me, but some people might even consider bad, just to make the point that yes, even those kinds of films can produce a perfect scene. So let's get started with 1991 Steven Seagal vehicle, Out for Justice. While this seems obvious, I just want to say that there will be spoilers for a 25-year-old movie here, and the film is rated R, so expect violence and language. Okay? Okay. Out for Justice is Seagal's 4th film. Produced by Warner Brothers, it opened on April 12, 1991 in the #1 spot and ended up making nearly $40 million on an estimated budget of $14 million. According to Outlaw Verne, author of Seagology, a study of the ass-kicking films of Steven Seagal, it is, quote, the most badass Steven Seagal film, end quote. He also cites the scene we'll be talking about today as his favorite scene in the movie. The film was directed by John Flynn, who also directed 1973's The Outfit, 1989's Stallone vehicle Lockup, and 1994 virtual reality exploitation film Brain Scan. That one just became relevant again. Look it up. The story of Out for Justice is basically a 70s grindhouse revenge flick with a bright 90s polish on it. Seagal plays Gino Felino, yes, his name rhymes, a narcotics detective for the NYPD. His partner and friend Bobby Lupo is killed at the beginning of the film by Richie Madonna, played by William Forsythe.
Some wannabe wise guy asshole Richie Madonna.
All 3 of them have known each other from the neighborhood since they were kids. Neighborhood and community are heavy themes in this film, and they keep popping up. The interesting thing here is that Richie implies from the very beginning that he knows he'll be killed for executing Bobby, but he does it anyway. He is smoking crack, so he's not exactly a great decision maker. Gino tells his captain, played by eternal cop Jerry Orbach, that he's going to kill Richie. Everyone knows that Richie is going to be killed, and in a striking move against the trope, Gino's captain is surprisingly okay with this. He gives Gino the unmarked car and shotgun he requests and sends him on his way. In fact, the film makes it clear that everyone should be okay with this. Just look at the title. It's not Out for Revenge, it's Out for Justice. In this film, an extrajudicial murder is considered just. And just to make sure you're on board, Richie straight up shoots a random motorist in the head after killing Bobby for no reason other than she honked at him in traffic. The conflict in this film is mostly that the mob also wants to kill Richie because, well, to them, crime is a business, and shooting a cop, then an innocent driver in broad daylight is bad for business. Several guys Gino knows from the old neighborhood are mafiosos now, and they argue on multiple occasions about who's going to kill Richie, but the mafia doesn't take any real steps to stop Gino from doing it. Like I said, neighborhood and community are through lines in this film, and these mob guys respect Gino because they've known him for so long in spite of him being a cop. The tension is essentially 2 parts. 1, how many people will Richie kill before someone stops him? And 2, will Gino kill Richie before the mob does?
Hey! I'm looking for 2 hot shots from backup. Anybody got the balls? Huh? Anybody got the balls? How about you, Paulie? You got the fucking balls?
Yeah, I got the balls.
Now you got the bread.
It's Gino!
Man,
So Gino spends most of the movie chasing Richie, and along the way interacts with a pretty robust supporting cast, including Gina Gershon, Dominic Chianese, who some might recognize as Uncle Junior from The Sopranos, future good wife Juliana Margulies, and the aforementioned Jerry Orbach. Most of the action involves Gino committing various and sundry acts of violence against members of Richie's gang as he inches closer to catching up with him.
Come get some.
The scene we're looking at occurs about 30 minutes into the film. It's a shakedown scene, and I do so love a good shakedown scene. They come in all shapes and sizes. Sometimes it's crooks shaking down other crooks, sometimes it's crooked cops, sometimes it's loose cannon cops, and while I think a lot of people might say that Gene Hackman in The French Connection shaking down the bar is the best of them, for my money, Out for Justice is tops. Gino swaggers into the Americana pool hall, which by this point in the film has been established as being owned by the Medanos and run by Richie's brother, Vinny Medano. All dramatic scenes are at their core about power, about what the players want and how they can get it, and if they have the power over the other characters in the scene to get it. Shakedowns are often best at exposing and exploring these power dynamics, and filmmakers have a number of ways they can show who has the power in a given scene. A commonly used one that is not employed in this scene is shooting the actors from above or below. Cinematographer Rick Waite shoots everyone in this scene straight on in nearly every single shot, which doesn't betray the shift of power as the scene goes on. When Gino comes in, he's a cop, yeah, but the power balance is still basically neutral. Vinny sarcastically tells the pool hall patrons to
be very nice and tell this big fucker Mamaluk over here anything he wants to know.
Gino comes back immediately with one of the best insults ever put to film.
Hey, my brother was here. You wouldn't talk shit like that. Yeah, but he's not here. And you know why he's not here?
Why?
Because he's a chicken shit fucking pussy asshole. You know?
And the power balance is, for the moment, neutral. Gino gets a slight leg up by shoving a bar patron, then making his way over to Benny the Book, a local bookie who he tacitly threatens to arrest for bookmaking.
Bookmakers are illegal activity, you know.
He then puts the big question to the pool hall patrons.
Anybody seen Richie?
Fuck you.
Anybody know why Richie did Bobby Lupo?
Now, this is going to be important later. Listen to their response.
Anybody seen Richie?
Fuck you.
Anybody know why Richie did Bobby Lupo?
And this is where things pick up. Gino starts the shakedown proper, shoves a guy into a phone booth while Sammy, a local wise guy, says for the first of many times,
Big man with a badge and a gun.
Tattoo, believe me, this guy's nothing without that badge and gun. If you didn't have that badge and that gun, these guys would take your head off. The only balls he has is that badge and gun.
Is that right?
and it's ironic that Sammy trying to assert his dominance is what leads to the major shift, wherein it is fully established that Gino is clearly the one with the power here. He walks behind the bar, throwing drinks on people and breaking glasses. He then knocks out the bartender, an ex-boxer. It's getting more and more clear that he's got the power. And here, we get a shot that actually shows it. While the camera's not tilted, we do see that because Gino is up near the bar and Vinny is down near the pool tables, Gino appears considerably taller. Contrast this with their first discussion at the beginning of the scene. And it's at this point he tells Vinny to have everyone line up, and this is when Sammy pipes in again.
The only balls he has is that badge and gun.
Is that right? Let me show you something.
Huh? Here's my gun. Fair game now, okay? And here's my badge. This is your trophy. This is your trophy, okay?
Come and get it.
Knock him on his ass.
Huh? Tell one of your fucking jadruls to come and get it, all right?
I offer $5,000 for that badge right now. $5,000 right now. Not that badge.
Now we go to the fight, but we'll come back to that. Suffice to say, after pummeling just about everyone in the bar, Gino asks once more.
Anybody seen Richie? Huh? I'm gonna keep coming back till somebody remembers seeing Richie.
The entire arc of this scene can be summed up in, anybody seen Richie? He asks once at the beginning and is met with a chorus of fuck yous.
Anybody seen Richie?
Fuck you.
Anybody know why Richie did Bobby Lupo?
He asks once in the middle and is met with some murmurs.
Anybody see Richie? Anybody know why Richie did Bobby Lupo?
And he asks once at the end and is met with silence. In the beginning, he has equal power to everyone else in the scene. You might even argue he has less power than the bar patrons because they don't respect him or take him seriously. And in the end, no one is conscious enough to say boo to him. Well, okay, so that's wonderful, but shouldn't it take more than a great progression of power dynamics to make a perfect scene? Well, no, not necessarily, but this scene happens to have something else. A great ass-kicking. Let's rewind back to This Is Your Trophy. Sammy has offered $5,000 for Gino's badge, so now it's time for Gino to show it's not just about his badge and gun. Actually, let's rewind a bit further. From the beginning of this scene, Gino has been toying with a cue ball on and off. This is Chekhov's cue ball. He bounces it several times, and we hear the sound it makes. There is no doubt. This is a cue ball, and cue balls are very hard.
And he likes to pervert kids and stuff, huh? Drugs. Nobody uses drugs around here. Yeah. You don't know nothing, do you?
A tattooed thug, cleverly named Tattoo, threatens Gino, and this is actually the second time in the scene that he's done that. This is after he's given up his gun, and we get an insert shot of Gino wrapping the cue ball in a bar towel. And then,
Head off.
listen to that sound. If you hit a person in the face with a cue ball, I'm almost positive it doesn't make the same sound as a cue ball hitting another billiard ball, but it does here. This is on purpose. Foley artists Catherine Harper and Edward Steidle use that sound for two reasons. First, so we don't forget there's a cue ball in that towel, and second, because sound communicates impact really well. We hear that sound and it makes us feel those blows and sort of cringe a little bit, even if that sound isn't realistic.
Hey, Sticks, come on!
And that's where Styx steps in. Styx is apparently the kind of guy who hangs out in a pool hall just waiting to get in a fight with someone so he can use a pool cue as a weapon. Gino grabs a cue of his own and they fight. Now in a lot of modern action films this would be cut much differently than it is. There are relatively few cuts here, and they all go from wide medium to wide medium. There are no close-ups in this encounter, and the camera doesn't shake a single bit. After dispatching Styx, Gino continues to deflect the attacks of other patrons, and this is another thing I want to point out. When Steven Seagal fights, it doesn't look like any other actors fighting because Seagal is the only action star, at least the only action star that I'm aware of, who does Aikido. He's a 7th degree black belt in the martial art, though he's also a black belt in karate, judo, and kendo. But it's his Aikido that makes his fight scenes look unlike anything else. Say what you will about Kung Fu, and I love Kung Fu movies, but there are a ton of films that feature actors doing Kung Fu, most of them from Hong Kong. But films with a guy doing high-level Aikido? It's just Steven Seagal movies. After kicking everyone's ass, and in the only close-up of the fight destroying one guy's balls, he turns his attention first to Sammy, who no longer has much to say, especially after Gino socks him square in the face, and then to Vinny. Vinny makes the mistake of trying to pull a gun on Gino, and for his trouble gets a broken hand and a broken nose.
What are you doing? You don't want to do that, Vinny. Ow! Ow! Now you tell your brother I'm gonna cut off his head and piss down his throat. Fuck you! Hey.
And satisfied he's made his point, Gino asks the final time if anyone's seen Richie.
Anybody seen Richie? Huh? I'm gonna keep coming back until somebody remembers seeing Richie.
And that, my friends, is a perfect scene. The fighting is shot in an understandable way. The trajectory of power dynamics is wonderful. And Steven Seagal, for all of his faults, I mean, he's no Laurence Olivier, does a great job portraying the cocksure detective hot on the trail of his partner's killer. He's serious enough that we don't doubt his dedication, but he's having enough fun that the scene doesn't become dour. Zack Snyder could learn a thing or two by watching Out for Justice before he makes another Superman movie.
You let him do that to your face?
And that'll do it for the first episode of Perfect Scenes. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any suggestions for future episodes or any constructive criticism, please put it in the comments. And likewise, if you want to watch this scene without me talking over it, if you scroll down in the description, there is a link to watching the uncut version of the scene. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.